Hello everybody, welcome back. We are back in Taylor's kitchen. Hello.
Hi.
Taylor is here. Napoleon, the helper, not so helpful helper, is here. We'll be looking for scraps the whole time, I'm sure. And we have our ingredients out from the intro video. If you need to check back and make sure you've got all that out, now is the time to do so.
And a surprise ingredient.
Have a pre-poured glass of wine, because you know that's the way we roll. So if you want to take some time to make yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a beer, get some kind of nice beverage to make this experience even more relaxing than it already is with our dulcet tones, do that now. So we're going to start by getting out all the equipment we'll need. So Taylor, what we are going to need is a big bowl for doing the pancake batter. You're about to think you had to wash something up, weren't you?
There's a big bowl.
Very good. We'll need a chopping board and a nice sharp knife as per usual.
Just one chopping board?
Just one should do, yeah.
These thin ones get a bit of a curve over time.
Oh right, that's fun. Which colour are we going for?
I always go purple. I like the thicker one. The thin ones just seem kind of pointless.
Yeah. Oh wow. Very good. We have a very sharp knife. We are going to want to sift in the flour and the baking powder. So do we have a sieve or some kind of sifting
This little
thing?
set of bowls is so handy.
It's so good. I just realised like they all fit perfectly into each other. That's
and when you've got a
nice
premium on storage space in the kitchen, you basically get a colander and a sieve and all your little measuring cups and two bowls all together.
Is this an IKEA shout out right now? Is that what?
It actually isn't. It was it's some other brand, I can't remember, but it was one of those things in when you get the little stickers in Reva, and then if you build up enough, you can get something reduced
like a
price.
Supermarket bonus prize.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I've never actually done that, but I should.
Usually it's garbage, but anyway. Usually they're garbage things that you don't need, but the bowls are really handy.
Bothered. I'm going to suggest that we get a little bowl out for kitchen scraps so that we don't have to be constantly going to and from the bin. I would suggest that cooks at home do the same. It's quite handy. It does give you one extra bowl to wash up, but honestly, I think it's worth it.
We have this thing that we maybe use once a month, so let's go with that.
Cool, and I think that's all we need for now. We can get out the pans as and when we need them.
Cool.
So we are going to start with the pancake batter because that ideally wants to sit and have time for the baking powder to activate a little bit. So we're going to take our flour, our 200 grams of chickpea flour.
200 grams?
200 grams.
This must be a wild ride for people who've been watching the other ones, that now it's not just someone saying, oh, this, and then that, and then I do that, and then I chuck that in.
Precisely
they call
why
that the
I
Johnny.
changed the format. Largely inspired by Johnny Whitlam. So yeah, the chickpea flour can go straight into the sieve, but we're also going to put in there with it, you can pour it in already. We're going to put in there the baking powder as well, because I don't know about yours back home, but the baking powder here can often be quite lumpy.
Did we want a teaspoon of this?
Yes, so you can put the sieve down on top of the flour, that's totally fine. So we are going to put in I would say a generous teaspoon actually, if that's how much we've got in there. But if you're cooking in the UK, maybe in the US, where baking powder is more potent, then you're probably only going to need half a teaspoon. You hopefully know your baking powder. Yeah, that looks good. In it goes. And then we're going to sift those through together. Beautiful sifting.
Why, thank you.
Sometimes with this baking powder, it's so clumpy that you have to get in there with your knuckles. Do you know what I mean? To like work it through.
Yeah, if I get left with the pebbles, then that's
pebbles. It's a nice word for it.
It is kind of clumpy, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine always gets really pebbly. I'm going to use that now.
Baking pebbles.
Baking pebbles. I think you're going to have to use your hands.
No, it's getting done.
Going through.
Trying to be, COVID friendly in this closed room.
That's right. At least we know I'm safe.
Yep.
Self-tested just this morning.
Yep. Good stuff. And
Good.
I, don't really see anyone at all.
There you go.
So.
Then I think you're a safe bet.
Yeah.
All right, so into that we are going to add the spices. So we want turmeric first up.
Curcuma, yeah?
Curcuma. We're going to put in a teaspoon of turmeric.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you at home have got handy little measuring spoons as well, but obviously your standard teaspoons.
My next kitchen goal is to have jars of spices that are big enough that you can put the spoon into it.
Yes, that is a problem because especially these also are quite pebbly, I find, and often mean that
you gotta kind of...
It really doesn't... Yeah.
One, yeah?
One teaspoon.
So you kind of got to see how much you miss with and hope that it works out about the same.
Exactly.
And this is okay being pebbly.
That can be pebbly, that doesn't matter, yeah.
Okay.
I've just decided, I mean, we probably could have sifted it all through together.
Of cayenne.
Half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper.
I do actually have a half teaspoon, but I'm just going to...
Eyeball it, yeah, if that's easier. Ours are all handily arranged on the same like little key lock, so you can switch between them really easily.
Yeah, it's basically the thing, they're just in the same drawer.
Perfect.
Does it look like half?
Yeah, half a teaspoon of cayenne. We want 1 teaspoon of cumin, is that what we're on right now? Very good.
Yeah. 1.
Kreuzkümmel, 1 teaspoon.
I'm missing more than I'm getting it with this.
Might be a little bit over cumined, but that's never a bad thing.
And this is exactly why I want something that I can just put the spoon into.
Yeah, exactly.
And then garam masala?
Half a teaspoon of garam masala is going to go into here. Garam masala really can differ quite a lot depending on the brand.
I found this brand is one of my favorites actually.
Yeah.
It's not the one I bought recently, but it's the one I used when I first started using garam masala a lot. And I found it a bit stronger.
What one is that? What's the name of the brand? Remind me.
Ostman.
Ostman. Cool, and then into there we are going to put, so the recipe calls for half a teaspoon of salt because we are going to be adding spinach as well. I'm going to go out on a limb and say let's put in a teaspoon because the spinach will like soak up some of that seasoning, if that makes any sense at all. Obviously if you are using ground salt and just grinding it in, that can be a little hard to estimate sometimes, but we'll show you how much that comes out as. I can already hear Napoleon sighing that he's not getting enough food.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Perfect. All right, so another bit of equipment we need at this point is a measuring jug, because we are now going to start adding the water. So you want to put 300 mils of water into your measuring jug.
Cold?
Cold, yeah.
Yep.
And a whisk, if you have one, would be really good for this. If you don't, then a fork is also just fine.
It's just a little bit over.
A little bit over.
Yeah, cool. All right.
So we're going to start adding this gradually. You can mix together the dry ingredients first, actually. That's not a bad idea. I can already smell the spices.
Does smell real good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you want to start gradually mixing the water in, just so we don't accidentally go over, if you know what I mean. Because what we're wanting to achieve is the texture of really thick cream. You can probably go a little bit faster than that. We don't have to be... It's probably only when you get to like the 200 to 300 that you want to start getting careful.
I can hold the bowl.
I need to do it. Put it down, whisk a bit, then add a bit more. Gets a lovely colour from the turmeric that's in there. It's looking beautiful.
We want thinner than that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we want kind of, double cream texture. So we probably will use the whole 300, but It's just a way of making sure that we don't overwater. And it's a good way of making sure that everything gets well mixed in with each stage. Yeah, I was chatting to Dom and Joe in the lead up to this about the recipe and the background for it. And this is actually one of Joe's recipes. I think like either Dom comes up with one or Joe comes up with one. And they were talking about how, you know, pancakes are just so good, and why do we leave them solely as sweet dishes piled with berries and maple syrup? Not that that is a bad thing, but they're a lot more versatile, or can be a lot more versatile than that. But it's true, I don't think I have any other like savoury pancake recipe that I use.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like it's basically a easy bread.
Mm-hmm. And especially using chickpea flour, it's a bit more on the health and nutrient side.
Than that?
Yeah, we can keep going in.
See, my pancake batter idea of what's acceptable, the Scotch pancakes are quite thick.
No, we are going for, like I say, we probably will use all of the water. We want more than that as well. We do want it to be quite runny, so you should be able to sort of ladle it in quite a liquidy way. Yeah, a bit more. This is going to make about 8 pancakes, depending on how thick or thin we do them. It is also like a personal preference thing. If you want a thicker batter, then you could stop there. I think I'm going to suggest that we keep going though, and get more of a cream texture. Yeah, I think that's looking good actually. So yeah, it's about the texture of double pouring cream, would you say, as the person who's in the bowl?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a thing that exists in Germany. It's a long time
true.
Since I've had double pouring cream.
But when you kind of move your whisk through it, it leaves a
yeah,
little trail, but that trail disappears quite quickly.
It's like a thin, quite a thin cake batter.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's perfect. All right, you can stop whisking that, and basically we can put that to the side to rest and activate.
We aren't going to need that again, are we?
We're not using the whisk, no. So the whisk can go into the sink and you can have a sip of wine.
Oh, man. It's not like I earned that.
Does that worn you out already?
Yeah, a little bit.
So we are going to move on to prepping the veggies for the topping. If you have a stove that is really slow to heat up, which Taylor does not have because he has a gas hob, yeah, then you might at this point already want to put a large frying pan or similar onto your hob and get it heating up on a low heat, just so that it's ready by the time we've chopped the onions, because they're going to be the first thing to go in. But if your hob heats up quickly, you don't need to worry about that just now. We can grab our onions and start prepping them. We are going for thin slices, so generally for that I would cut them in half and then slice across, and really as thin as you can get it is great. We kind of want them to...
Should we discuss the razor in Goodfellas again like we did the first time?
I think that really only applies to garlic, right? Trying to cut an onion with a razor blade would be...
Yeah.
See, this is where your kitchen scraps bowl comes in super handy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't have to be too... You don't have to worry too much about getting it super, super fine. Because we are going to be cooking them for a long time, so even a medium thickness should cook down nicely.
Always red?
Yeah, I would say so for this. They're sweeter, and yeah, I think the red onion tomato mixture is real nice. I mean,
It's real nice.
It's real nice. I don't know where I suddenly started coming from there, or who I turned into. But yeah, if you've only got white, then that's fine. It's just not going to be quite as sweet, I would say. And I like sweet.
I don't know if anyone can hear that, but the dog is moaning in the corner.
He's laying down under the table, looking thoroughly fed up.
Well, see, normally,
What's up,
if
Max?
there's anything going on in here,
I know.
he's normally getting some food out of it.
And he likes weird food as well, doesn't he? Like, he'll quite happily munch down on vegetables, for
He
example.
loves carrot. He'll eat carrot, broccoli, cauliflower, and cucumber till, you know, he can't eat anymore. He loves them.
Such a healthy dog.
And he probably would eat onion because he's not the smartest dog, but onion's not real good for dogs.
No, I imagine that would be a bit...
He would eat anything that I threw to him. The only thing that he won't eat is chocolate flavoured flea tablet that the vet assured us that all dogs love.
Oh, yeah. Well, probably if you hide it in a piece of cucumber, it'd be all over it.
No, we've tried that. He'll eat the cucumber, he'll realise something's weird going on, and then he'll spit it out. The only way to get him is to chop it into tiny bits and hide it in a series of things.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so those are just perfect.
It's always the last bit.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm going to chop my finger off.
Sometimes I chuck away the last bit just because I'm scared of it. It's a good sharp knife sound.
Yes.
I need to get myself one of those sharpening blocks.
Yeah, it's useful. I don't know how often you're supposed to sharpen good knives. Like, if a good knife is a good knife, does it mean it doesn't need to be sharpened a lot? Or is it just something that when you get used to having a sharp knife, you're always going to sharpen it really regularly?
I got some good knives for Christmas, and the ones that I'm using regularly are already quite blunt.
Yeah.
And it even says, like, sharpen your knives regularly as good knife care. So I think a good knife doesn't mean that it doesn't go blunt quickly. I would say at this point we could actually put the pan on for you too, and anyone that's got a gas hob, because that means that by the time we're done finishing chopping the onions, the pan should be hot for us.
Do you want to cry tonight, Grace?
Oh no, I'm so sorry. It's been a lot. So we have a little bit of an issue here in that these guys don't really have a big frying pan.
I mean, I do, but not with a
But it doesn't
handle.
have a handle. So do we need to use one with a handle?
No.
Well, let's use that then. And if you have to pick it up, you could pick it up with a towel.
Oh, look, I can probably pick it up with that.
Or with that. Perfect. That's going to be just fine.
I mean, that's kind of the reason I kept it, is because, especially if you're ever cooking something that's stove and then oven,
Yeah.
I figured it might be useful.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
So we're going to put that on a medium hob and on a low heat. Medium low. Oh yeah, you have to use fire to light your oil.
I do.
It's pretty exciting. So yeah, I think that's quite a large hob, so I would put that on the lowest.
Cool. Do I want oil in there yet?
Yes, so we're going to add to that...
Just a glug, or...?
Let's say about 2 tablespoons, because they're going to cook on a low heat for a long time. You don't want them drying out. You can start with a tablespoon and then add more as and when you need it. It's personal preference really, but in my experience from cooking it, I think about 2 is pretty perfect.
Let's just go with that.
Let's just go with that. Nice.
We'll keep that oil around there.
Yeah, we will be using more of that.
Do I want to get that into there?
While that's heating. No, I'd leave it to heat while we
Okay, cool.
finish the prep on the other onions. Where do you tend to find your recipes? I don't think we talked about this last time. It's been interesting for me to find out how people tend to come across new recipes. I often just Google whatever ingredients I have that I want to use, and then whatever seems to have a high rating, I'll try out. But when you're looking for something new, what's your general go-to?
Look, to be honest, I probably don't look for new stuff all that often.
No.
I do sometimes like watching cooking shows. Like Linz and I, we like having a show that we don't have to think about, that we put on when we're eating generally. And sometimes that's a cooking show. And lately it's been Nadia.
I don't know this.
She won British Bake Off like 5 years ago.
Yeah. I remember.
She's got a couple of shows on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
And it's not so much that we would cook exactly what she has, but sometimes we see something, we're like, oh yeah, we can make something like that. And then Linz might either just Google a recipe, like the slow cooker sag paneer that Linz makes is just a recipe she Googled.
Yeah, that's nice to get. A good way to get inspiration though, watching shows like that.
Yeah, like I've got one thing that I think I only saw, like it's a Nadia thing, but I saw it not even watching the show, I just, when Netflix plays like trailers for stuff, I saw it and I went, oh, that's super easy, I can do that. And it's basically like scrambled eggs, chuck stuff in it and cheese, not scrambled eggs, sorry, like an omelette, but while it's still not cooked on top, you get a tortilla and you put it on top of it and then you flip it and then you roll it up and it's just so easy and good.
Oh, that does sound good.
Nearly
Look
there.
at this guy. He's been looking.
I'm ever so cute. Won't you give me some food? Do we
So
feel like
I would
that's-
test the oil first by putting a little bit of onion in. That's just what I tend to do. That is do with being a tiny bit hotter. Oh, actually, that's sounding good. Yeah, chuck it in. So if your oil is giving a nice gentle sizzle, as ours is, then all the onion can go in. And we are going to be cooking this low and slow for about 15 to 20 minutes. We will be giving this a regular stir, so make sure you have some stirring apparatus, much like this wooden spoon.
What's the hole for?
I don't know. Measuring spaghetti?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Maybe.
So yeah, you want to start by stirring the onions to coat them in the oil, as Taylor is doing. And then once they're all coated and sizzling along, they can just do their thing. I would maybe have it on a tad higher heat, teeny bit, just so we've got a little bit more of an audible sizzle going on. That's good. But yeah, what you really don't want to do is fry them too hot and have them catch. Generally, the slower and longer you can cook your onions for, especially red onions, the sweeter and jammier the outcome, and that's what we want right now. I'd say that's sounding good.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So we will probably chop the tomatoes at this point. I think that makes most sense because they're going to be going into the pan next. So we might want to wash them first. I confess I did not do that for you.
Come over here.
With my dirty
Tell
tomatoes.
me how to cook.
It's just, I figured people at home would also need time to wash their tomatoes. I'm doing it for the people.
I do only wash vegetables and stuff before I use them.
Yeah.
Like I don't wash them before I put them in the fridge or
No,
anything.
that
I don't
tends
know.
to, water tends to stay on them and then they can go really mushy or, that doesn't really work.
So what am I doing? Both or just the big ones?
So we're going to do all of them. If you need a recap, it was 250 grams of tomatoes, which for us using a mix looks something like this. The little cherry toms we are going to halve, and then the larger ones we'll cut the stalks out and chop them into chunks that are about the size.
Or should I get another
we're just
bowl?
keeping them to the side for now.
I might just get another bowl.
So you can get another bowl or you can just keep them on your chopping board, whichever you prefer. A bowl's probably handy because we might use the chopping board for something else afterwards. And I feel like, I know we're not really in tomato season yet, but they're starting to get sweeter and better than tomatoes that you buy over the winter, which are usually very flavourless.
Because they've been in a storage the whole time? Is that how it works? Or have they just come from the southern hemisphere? Surely they've been in storage. Is that how supermarkets bring it out whenever, even though it's not in season, is they basically kept in storage?
Or just import them from elsewhere? I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like Germany is more likely to store rather than import, but
yeah.
I'm basing that on absolutely nothing. Is this a vegetable that Napoleon enjoys to snack on?
Oh yeah, I'll probably, if we're cutting the stalks out, I'll probably give him them.
Right.
He quite likes it when I'm cutting tomatoes because he knows that he's going to get that bit.
Well, that's handy. You're a little waste
And you can
disposal
see-
team here.
He's usually pretty good at catching food that I throw to him, except if Linz is around, then he's useless. I don't know why that is.
He can't perform under pressure.
Yeah, so we'll see what he's like with the camera on him.
He doesn't. I don't think he understands.
To P, we don't have any carrot because the funniest thing is when I'll make banh mi and I peel the carrot and you've got the like stringy bits of peeled carrot.
Yeah.
I'll throw him one that he eats, but when he's paying attention to that, I'll land another one on his back.
Do you know what? I think we're repeating ourselves quite fantastically from the first video.
Just talk about Napoleon.
Well, no, the carrot trick. I think we talked about the carrot trick.
It's so good.
And then he gets.
If anyone has a
confused.
dog, do it.
Try it right now. You did catch it! You're going to have to do another one because I didn't catch it on camera.
Nah,
Whoa,
failed.
No, failed.
Napoleon.
Yeah, he just can't stand the pressure.
All right, let's
The
try
number of
this.
people watching.
All 7 viewers.
I love how you're barefoot. Isn't there a US cooking show called Barefoot Contessa?
There you go.
This is Barefoot
Is there?
Con Taylor. Yeah, I don't know. Amy, a friend of ours, I think she used to watch it at university. You'd have to ask her.
How am I chopping this? Just like cubed or?
Yeah, you kind of, I guess, want to achieve the same sort of size as the half cherry tomatoes, so fairly small. We want to get it all to sort of mingle together nicely. You might also want to give your onions a stir, just so we're not neglecting them.
This really is like the worst part of cooking with someone. Because normally if someone else was just standing there noticing the onions were burning, they'd pick the thing up and stir it themselves rather than be like, hey Taylor, I know you're in the middle of something, but can you do that other thing?
I bark at you for not playing the camera instead.
I'm busy holding a camera and drinking my wine.
Hey look, I'm doing at least double the effort of what I did before. So give me a break, yeah?
It's true.
I've got like at least keep an eye on what we're doing.
You used to just hold the camera and drink your wine. Now you hold the camera, drink your wine and bark orders.
And time. I just realised, I'm supposed to be timing those onions as well. And I've kind of already lost sight of that a little bit. I think they've been in for 5 minutes. I think we're fine. But yeah, I'm quite excited to try out this recipe with a bunch of other things. I should have said in the intro video, it could easily be veganized by using a firm tofu instead of the paneer. In which case you might want to marinate the tofu in some kind of tasty flavors first, because famously doesn't have a great deal of flavor, tofu. And while paneer doesn't either really, it's still got that creamy cheesiness, which frankly is all you need a lot of the time.
So how long do you think it is of you doing this show until someone cuts themselves quite bad in the middle of being filmed?
I am honestly,
I haven't done it, by the way.
Honestly amazed it's not happened yet.
Yeah, I just think it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah, especially because when I was teaching, so Seb's dish, his sardine pasta dish.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just stirring our onions and having a little sip of wine at the moment. If you're doing the same, you're right there with us. I then did a cook along of that with my family. I was kind of hoping that they would all just watch the video and we could just cook it together, but they wanted me to do it and stay on Zoom with them, and so I kind of had to teach them. And in the process of teaching them, I sliced my finger really badly and had to like plaster it up. And then as I was draining the pasta and carrying over the pot, I sloshed boiling water over the same hand where I'd sliced my finger.
I'm trying to cauterize it or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it actually helped because the cut didn't
It
end
made
up
you
too
forget
bad.
that it was cut.
But by the time we sat down to eat, I was there with like cling film wrapped around this hand and also blood dripping underneath the cling film. And I was like, wow, I have a newfound respect for my cooks for not having any accidents, because it actually felt I felt under pressure, you know.
I guess if you were cooking with them and trying to explain
Yeah, that was quite a lot. All right, so our tomatoes are done, as yours probably are too. So now we're going to prep the other things that are going to go in when the onions have softened nicely, and that is garlic, 1 clove of garlic that we need to extract from our bulb. I don't know if I brought you a nice bulb. I guess you'll find out.
Is it bad if it's got a green sprout coming out of it?
I did notice that. I think it's probably not ideal.
Okay, so I just won't take that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they've all got green sprouts.
I think it's just fine.
I accidentally snapped off 2.
You can use 2 if you like. If they're small.
I'll use the big one.
Yeah.
Just because
we'll use
Lynn's
one
isn't
big
great
clove.
with lots of garlic.
We only need to crush it, but do you have a garlic crusher, or what do you tend to use for that?
No, I've got a garlic crusher because
So we'll use the garlic crusher.
a heathen.
You could use, as I've suggested before, if you've watched more of the show, a cheese grater, the really fine side of a cheese grater, or you could just chop it real fine.
Speaking of using a cheese grater,
you can crush it straight into the tomatoes because they're going to be going in at the same time.
I have this recipe where it requires grated ginger, like grated fresh ginger.
Yeah.
And Lynn's was cooking it once, and I came into her doing it with a garlic crusher. I don't know if anyone has ever tried to do that, but ginger is significantly stiffer than garlic, so she was like full body, and half of it spraying out the top and being lost.
No.
So.
Oh well, you know, you live and learn.
But anyway, well, no, she still does it that way.
Did you manage to get it through in the end?
In the end,
wow.
I mean, half of it went out the sides, but yeah, she was happy that she didn't have to wash a different thing. So.
Yeah. Cool, so our crushed garlic clove is in with the tomatoes. Also in with the tomatoes, just let you get the last bits off there. We want to put our chili flakes, if you're using, this is optional, but I think everyone here likes a bit of spice, am I right?
Lynn's less so.
Lynn's less so? Then well, you know,
we
these
didn't
are from
introduce
the
these.
Asian store, and they could be very hot, so maybe we'll just use one of those if she's not super keen on hot.
So yeah, this is Flea, and this is Anthony Kiedis. Hey. So am I like
are
slicing
they dry
it?
enough to crumble, or are they a little bit?
I don't know if they'll crumble. What do you want me to do with them? What's the goal here?
They're going to go in with the tomatoes and garlic.
But am I chopping it, or am I just trying to?
Well, they kind of want to be the equivalent of flakes, but I don't have flakes. I only have dried chilies, so we're getting it as small as possible, basically. And I was hoping they were dry enough that we could just crumble them in. But if they're not, then we might want to.
I mean, the seeds will crumble, but I don't know if the
chop them
skins
up.
will crumble.
Maybe crumble the seeds in and then chop up the flesh.
I think they're dry enough that there's not really any flesh. There's just haut.
Chop up the haut then.
Is it called haut?
On a chili?
Like on a vegetable, it'd be called skin in English, but would it be called the same word as skin in German?
I should know this because I follow a lot of German recipes, but I can't really think right now. So we are creating chili flakes out of semi-dry chilies. Pretty well, might I add. It's a good job, Taylor. Given that I put you on the spot. Beautiful. So yeah, they're going to go in with the tomatoes and garlic because we're going to be adding all of this at the same time. So that's nice and easy.
Got on that one before you barked at me.
Very good.
Cool. Do you want the other one in there as well?
It really depends on the spice level people want. And given that I don't know how hot these chilies are, because I just opened this pack freshly, and like I say, they're not German store-bought chilies, they are Asian store-bought chilies.
Well, look, what I would say...
Let's maybe go with one to be on the safe side.
Well, surely the big thing with chili is the seeds. So if I don't put the seeds in...
Sure. On your head be it, if Lindsay can't eat it.
It's generally the flesh is not terribly spicy. It's
Would you risk giving your finger a wee lick to see just how bad it is?
I mean, that is definitely spicy.
He fell for it. Yes. Okay, so based on that, I'm going to let you decide if we put in more.
Look, I definitely wouldn't put seeds in, but I actually think that the rest of it's too bad.
Okay. So I'm going to chop up that flesh a bit. I'm going to stir your onions for you. How about that?
Amazing.
So these are looking real good. They're getting nice and soft and translucent. But we want them even softer than that. But this is the perfect level of
Actually, you know what? I'm starting to feel a bit paranoid.
keeping it out.
Keeping it out, but I will have it there so people can use it if they want.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good compromise. You might also want to wash your hands just before you stick your fingers in your eyes, and then you're blinded and we can't carry on.
Trying to burn it.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So much so that I'm worried Linda's not going to be able to eat this, so I'm going to try and push a
Wow.
bit of the really obvious stuff out.
Yeah, we've gone in with a hot chili.
If I hadn't put the seeds in with the first one, I wouldn't really be that concerned, because I think one chili in this amount is really not too much of an issue.
Do you remember that we are also going to be cooking up, because we're actually feeding 4 people, but for the purposes of the video, we're just cooking for 2. We're going to be cooking up some more afterwards. So we can just keep the same chili for that amount. And that should be okay.
Fine.
Your lips all right? Can you speak?
I can speak. I'm all good.
Wine will help.
Wine will help.
So while Taylor washes his hands, and you might be wanting to do the same if you've also been handling a hot chili, what we're going to be doing next, if you are using them, is we're actually going to be toasting some of these whole cumin seeds separately. And do you know what I've just realised? We could use your tiny little pans.
Yes, you can.
Because we only want a teaspoon of these. And Taylor has the most adorable, would you look at this? Oh my goodness. It's like a pan for a Sylvanian. Well, it's a bit more. It's a bit bigger than that, I guess.
Do I want some sort of oil?
No, we're just going to dry toast a teaspoon of whole cumin seeds. The toasting is also kind of optional. I've done it just chucking them into the pan as is, but we've got the time, and I just wanted an excuse to use the tiny pan, to be honest. So yeah, you want to put
that's a half teaspoon, so I'm just gonna
those into a little extra pan. And then you can turn that onto a medium-high heat, because we're just trying to toast them.
Easier. You got to get on that bandwagon, Grace. None of this plastic band stuff.
I know.
The clips.
Where do you get them from? I just
IKEA.
Yeah. Okay.
Like everything else in the world.
I will do it.
They are super useful. We've got clips on everything. I would want this on a very low heat. You said, right? No,
like a medium. Yeah, with a pan that tiny, a medium's probably fine. If you're doing these in a larger pan, you might want a medium-high. We'll be shaking them around pretty frequently so we don't risk burning them. And we really just.
Is there anything else that need to be chopped?
Yes. So I suppose at this point, our onions have been in there for.
They are well, not caramelized. They are quite soft.
Yeah, we're going to give them just a couple more minutes while our cumin seeds toast. And then that should be just perfect. And in the meantime, we could chop the paneer into cubes. So really just whatever.
Paneer just goes on top, right?
We'll be frying it. Once the onions and tomato come out the pan, we'll be using the same pan to fry it up in.
That is purely a keeping the chili off the paneer.
Yes.
For Lindsay.
You might want to roll up your second chopping board.
Go.
So yeah, we're going for like just cubes, basically.
Like that?
Yeah,
But like-
that looks about right. I'd say 1 to 2 centimetre cubes, whatever you want. The smaller you do them, the more crispy bits you're going to have, which is no bad thing. But yeah, if you cut across and then across again, it's pretty satisfying cubing paneer, I find.
I don't normally cube paneer,
No?
but
Do you normally crumble it?
I haven't used it a lot.
Okay.
Lindsay uses it. It's
Yeah.
her dish that she cooks.
Yeah.
Whereas I do this with tofu.
Ah,
regularly.
yes. Also a
This
handy
is the
food.
one that I haven't yet.
Handy food for cubing because it comes in useful blocks. So we can start to smell our cumin seeds already. So you might want to give those a little toss around. And I would say once they become fragrant like that, that's really all they need, Taylor. So I would take those off the heat already. You can either add them to the tomato or you can just keep them on the side. They're all going to be going in with the onions. At the same
They probably
time,
continue cooking it there.
which is actually going to be now. I think those onions are looking
Pretty
real good.
So tomato in.
So the tomato, chili, garlic mixture is going to go in. And the cumin seeds are also going to go in. And then you want to give that a good mix around so everything's nice and coated in the oil. And at this point, I would turn up the heat just a tad because that will have cooled the pan down a lot. And you want to get those tomatoes cooking. So once you've given it a nice stir, turn it up to a, maybe not that much higher, like a medium low rather than a super low heat. Yeah, that sounds good. And we're going to keep that cooking for...
I love how fast gas responds.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? I know, if people are working with electric hobs.
New electric hobs are probably pretty good, but
Yeah.
the old ones that you get like standard in rental apartments are
Yeah.
just
Not so great.
turn it on, wait 10 minutes. Turn it off, also wait 10 minutes.
Yeah. So we're going to keep this cooking for about 5 minutes. I think that's right. So our paneer is cubed, as is yours. You might want to transfer that to a bowl at this point if you have one, just because we're going to chop the spinach on that same chopping board. If you want to just shuggle it to the side, that's also an option. Wow, that toasted cumin's pretty pungent, isn't it?
It really is.
Yum. Cheese.
Any sort of cheese. So good.
So good.
It's the thing. That's why I couldn't be vegan.
I know, it's just,
Like I could go coconut milk
yeah.
in my coffee pretty fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really eat much yogurt. Yeah, there's really only cheese in my
Really
life.
only cheese.
And I do like eggs.
See, I could go without eggs, actually, which is a controversial opinion, but I stand by. Cool, so at this point we're going to bring the spinach into play. That's going to be going in our pancake batter. The reason I don't like adding it immediately is that I like to kind of keep it as fresh as possible.
I'm just slicing this.
We are chopping this actually really fine.
Okay.
We want it to disperse nicely throughout the batter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so
How fine?
pretty fine. Like when I do
Like-
it, I chop it up and then I kind of
I
go
can
over
blend it.
again. Almost like you're blending it.
No, but I mean I can actually blend
No,
it.
yeah, I know. I don't want to do that just because it's specialist equipment and also it's not really necessary, but please don't chop your finger off now because I'd feel quite guilty.
I mean, I've got a blender.
We're not using, obviously at home, if you have a blender and would like to use a blender, that is totally an option.
I don't know who these heathens are that are watching your show, Grace.
That?
Well, I mean, if they don't have a garlic crusher, they probably don't have a blender, but if you don't have a garlic crusher, what the fuck?
I don't have a garlic crusher or a
Why
blender.
not? They cost like $2.
I just find them unnecessarily annoying to clean. Taylor, you're gonna want to stir your tomatoes at this point. Beautifully done.
It is nice though. I don't feel like I have any, comparatively to the last cook that we did, where it was my recipe.
Yeah.
In this one, I don't feel like there's really any pressure.
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to take the pressure off the cooks entirely because there's really nothing in it for you guys other than the pleasure of my company.
Which
with
is
the format
lovely.
before. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, for people to be willing to stay in for the long haul, I figured I needed to make it. I needed to take the pressure off.
Well, I mean, the other option would be to find more friends, but that's kind of difficult to do in Corona time.
That is not really an appropriate time for finding friends. So yeah, exactly. That looks absolutely perfect. Actually, that's, yeah, you don't need to go finer than that, I would say.
Should
I
I
also
get
feel
a
like
bowl for that, or?
Yeah, we want to chop it all up.
But I'm just wondering if I can get it off the chopping board.
Oh, you can put that straight into the batter. We're going to just be adding it straight to our pancake batter. So if you want more space on the chopping board, you can chuck that straight in the bowl. Maybe give your tomatoes another stir.
Should I
They're
turn it down
releasing
a
lots
bit,
of lovely
or?
liquid. I would say that's a good level of sizzle.
Okay.
While we finish off the rest of the spinach. Yeah, and I feel like this way as well, it's not just less pressure for the cooks, but you're also benefiting because
I'm learning
once
something
someone
new.
has shown you how to cook a dish from start to finish, I feel it's really easy to do it again.
It's like directions. Like,
Okay?
if I'm a passenger in a car going somewhere I've never been, I probably won't remember how to get there. But if I drive,
Yeah,
I will always remember how to
Yeah.
get there.
exactly. Exactly, says someone who can't drive and has no idea about that reference.
It is shocking how many of my friends don't have driver's
I
licenses in this
know.
city.
Well, you, much like the Americans, you know, you come from a
Does Will have
country
a
where you
driver's
really
license?
have to drive. Yeah, yeah.
And
whereas-
it's valid.
He has just converted it to
Right.
a German one, so yeah, he can now.
Yeah, it isn't something you need in a city, but it's always something, even in a city that has good public transport like Berlin does, might be some time when it's really important.
Yeah, I think the freedom, actually especially in Corona times, we felt the freedom it would offer us was really good.
Is that all right? That size?
Perfect, yeah.
And, you know, I think also,
Actually, bring that batter over. Let's see how much, we'll stir it through and see what that's looking like, because we might not need all of that spinach. Let's give our tomatoes another quick stir just to make sure the garlic's not catching or anything. It's looking good. Perfect, that's gonna have about 1 more minute, I would say. Meanwhile, we will stir our spinach into our batter. Nice. Beautiful. I mean, at this point, it's really personal preference and how spinachy we want it. I honestly
you
think
could
that
probably
looks,
have.
think it could take a bit more.
I can take a bit more. I mean, it's nice. It looks nice as it is.
Yeah, I think let's leave it like that, so it doesn't become too overwhelmingly spinachy. How's the raw batter tasting?
Oh man, that does taste good.
Yeah, amazing. All right,
some
I would
nice
turn
spices.
this pan down a little bit now. It seems to be getting a bit frantic. Give it another stir, and then we're going to add in a few more of the spices that we've got left. Nice. So at this point, we want to add in the teaspoon of ground ginger.
Into this, right?
Into that, straight into the hot pan. Are you sneezing?
No.
All right.
I'm rather than being as it doesn't go where I want it to go, I feel like one time into 1 spoon rather than twice into a half spoon is the better way to go.
That's definitely true. Nice teaspoon of ginger straight in. And then half a teaspoon of the garam masala. Perfect. I just want to give that a nice mix around. These 2 spices really only want to cook for a minute or 2. Beautiful. Some very good smells should be happening now. Cool. So at this point, we've got our batter ready. We have got our paneer ready. One thing that we do want to do with the paneer before we start frying it, which is going to be happening very soon, because as soon as that tomato mixture comes out, oh, that's what we should do. We should prep a bowl to put the tomato mixture into, because we're going to be leaving it in a bowl and cover it if possible. If you have a plate to cover that with, or some foil to cover it with. And that's just going to stay nice and warm while we fry the paneer and do the pancakes.
Which I'm doing now, or?
We're going to do that next, yeah. So I would give that one more stir, and then, secret of any good cook and dish, I would give it a little taste. Bear in mind you're going to have lime juice, you're going to have coriander on there, so if you feel like it's missing acidity or freshness, that will be coming. But if you feel like it's not quite sweet enough, or it needs some salt, which is very likely, just be careful not to burn yourself.
Definitely doesn't need any sweetness.
Yeah, that sweetness really comes from the tomatoes and the onions. So then it's really personal preference if you want to add a little bit of salt at this point. If you think it's good.
No, I think it's good.
Perfect.
I mean, you can always add salt later, I feel.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So at this point, we are going to scoop all of that deliciousness. We're going to keep the hob on. Scoop all the deliciousness into our bowl. Oh, it's like a chutney. Most delicious chutney. And you really want to try and make sure. You could even use some kitchen towel at this point to wipe that out, but otherwise just a spoon should be fine to make sure we're not leaving any bits in there that are going to burn with the next stage. So the bowl wants to be covered so that our tomato onion chutney stays nice and warm.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, either some foil or a plate. And then we're going to add a bit more oil to this pan, just a drizzle.
Enough?
Yeah, I think just enough to coat the base, maybe a little bit more because we are frying cheese. So why not more?
Okay, quick question.
Yes.
Does this generally give off a lot of smoke?
It really depends how crumbly our paneer is. Would you like to open the window and prep?
Yeah, well, recently, part of the law, we had people come around and put smoke detectors in. Yet for some reason, which you would never put a smoke detector in a kitchen, but because this kitchen is a thoroughfare, they were adamant they had to do it, which is a giant pain in the ass.
Well, we can keep ours maybe a little bit lower then. Wait, before we put that in, we want to get some kitchen towel and just pat the paneer dry a little bit so that there's not too much moisture going into the hot pan, because that can then cause it to spit. So hopefully you have a piece of kitchen towel to hand. You can just exactly tip it in, give it a little squeeze. You don't need to be too anal about it, but it's just good to get a bit of that moisture off. And once you're happy with it, that can go straight into the pan. Lovely. So you want to stir that around, coat it in all the oil.
Break up, bitches.
Break up your little chunks. I would say ideally we want it on a slightly higher heat than that, so it's a little bit more of a sizzle. Nice. Beautiful. And we're going to be really just attending to this and stirring them around regularly until they get all nice and crispy and brown. Now at this point is when I was wondering whether to cook the pancakes at the same time, but I think in the interest of keeping it as chill as possible,
we'll do it later.
We're going to do it in the same pan once the paneer comes out.
I'm not going to do it in the same pan.
Oh, you're not?
No, but everyone else can.
Yeah, okay, sure.
But I have a flat pancake type pan, so that
very
just makes
true.
my life easier.
Because while we are, because I feel like the paneer, you do need to tend to it quite a lot, and I just don't want people to be stressing, trying to do two things at once. I think the good thing about these videos is that this is really just a way to teach people the dish. And then once you know it and you've cooked it once in this very slow, methodical way, next time you cook it, you can do multiple things at once. You know, you could start the pancakes now, you can make it quicker.
Also, like there'll be people that cook with their partner or with friends, and someone can be doing one.
Exactly. So for the purposes of learning, we'll keep it as chill as possible. But obviously, the total time of this dish could easily be halved when you're cooking it on your own, I would say. In the meantime, though, because it's sort of less work, we can prep our toppings, I would say. So we can chop up our coriander and we can chop our lime into little quarters. So the coriander probably needs a wash because that comes straight from
How much of it?
the shop. I think half of it for two will be plenty. You just want a handful, but really it's a preference thing.
You are clearly not one of those people who thinks that coriander tastes like dishwater.
No, well, yeah, it's something I've grown to really like, but I didn't like coriander for a long time. I don't think I had the dishwater thing, but I definitely wasn't a fan. And then I saw the error of my ways.
I still don't know how much I love fresh, like coriander on top, but coriander as a spice, I'm a big fan of.
They're very different flavors, aren't they, like dried coriander. But no, the fresh, I think it's so dish appropriate coriander for so many different cuisines where another herb just couldn't substitute it, you know. Give that paneer
What am I doing with it? Just
give
like
that paneer
rough?
another stir really quickly just to make sure it's not burning on the bottom. And if at any point you're like, it's cooking too quickly, it's too frantic, just turn the hob down a little bit. But
or if it's an electric hob, move it off the hob.
yes, like a proper professional chef, have like half on. So the coriander is really just however we want to sprinkle it over the top. Some people might even just rip the leaves off. I tend to chop it just once. I wouldn't go over coriander too many times. A little bit of stalkage is totally fine, but totally optional. Yeah, perfect. And you can either put that in a little bowl or just keep it to the side. We will just be sprinkling that on the top.
Just going to put that in the same bowl that paneer was in,
And
I
that
think.
works well. I'd give our cheese another flip.
I think that might be getting pretty close to being done, to be honest.
It's looking beautiful. Personally, I like it really crispy, so I tend to go on the over brown side. What we could prep already is a plate or a bowl lined with some kitchen paper to put that out of the pan and into so that it just soaks up any excess oil.
Let's go with that.
Perfect. I'll not put my wine there.
It's alright. I'll be done with it soon. Yeah, I think that's good.
Looking good. So we've had ours on quite a high heat, so it's pretty much ready to come off now. And we're gonna carefully,
Oh, I missed one.
slightly carefully.
Oh, I'm missing all of them.
There's
When
a
there's
bowl, I
paper
think.
towel on it, I don't know how big
Yeah.
the bowl is.
Pop it in there. Now you can either wipe your pan out with kitchen towel at this point and use the same pan for the pancakes, but Taylor has a special pan that we're going to be bringing out now. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I'm just deciding where I'm going to put this.
Yeah, true. Shall I clear some space on the side of the sink?
just
I could just go in the sink, right?
Yeah. Just going to make a bit of a sizzle
It
sound.
is a hot pan. Oh, that paneer smells good.
All right.
All right, I'm just going to steal a bit of paneer. Oh yeah. So we have this beautiful thing. Look at that.
It's so good for pancakes.
So good.
Come
That
at
is
it
its
from
purpose
this.
in
You don't
life,
have to
I
come
guess.
down like that.
Yeah. So more oil is called for at this point. Really just a drizzle. You don't need to go overboard with the oil here. We just want to coat the base. Yeah, you can swish it around with a plastic spatula. You could even use the same piece of paper towel you used on the paneer to kind of like smear it about. Napoleon can smell the cheese and is very interested.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for Napoleon. He's really not
There
getting
is.
much food. So,
And then we're heating that to a medium, good solid medium heat, maybe even medium high.
how big are we wanting the pancakes?
Well, this is very much a personal preference. I personally like them quite thin because then you get delicious crispy edges. So yeah, it's really up to you because the mixture is thick enough that when you ladle it in, it does sort of stay and you could cook it that thick and have more of a meaty affair. Or you can use the back of a ladle to push it out a bit. You can even swirl it around a bit. As ever with pancakes, the first one will show you what you're working with, and then
First one
you
always
can,
sucks.
and then you can adjust as need be after that. So we've got a ladle out, we've got a plate out ready to put the pancakes onto, and then when your pan, not quite there yet, I would say, you can even whap up the heat a little bit more just to get it to the desired heat. Again, this is a luxury that we have with a gas cooker that you might not have at home. And Napoleon is eating coriander. How does he feel about that?
Not real good.
Entirely. I know, he's gone back in for it. No. He so wants to like it. And he's like,
I feel like I should eat anything that I am given.
Yeah.
But no.
All right, what do we think? You can even test it by putting a teeny little bloop. It's not a word. See if it sizzles. Not quite. So while you're waiting for it to heat up, we could slice our lime into quarters. Ready for serving.
I'm going to need another bowl for this, aren't I?
We could just leave
Just
it.
like to be squeezed over
Yeah,
sort of deal.
it's just for squeezing. Sorry, I've not brought you the freshest limes, you might notice.
all right.
They are, however, free limes. Thank you, gorillas.
Do they give you free limes?
We get free everything.
Oh yeah, that's
My
Will's
partner
job.
works there. Yeah. Hey, tell us about this 415.9 kilometers to go. What's that all about?
So at the start of the year, I decided I want to run 1,000 Ks
That's
in
a lot of Ks.
2021. Yeah, it is, but it's only like 3 Ks a day. So I thought, okay, that's a good kind of year-long goal. But I had no job and we were in lockdown in January, so I did 220 in January. And it was kind of fun because there was some really cold days and it was like me against the elements kind of thing. And then I got a job and started working that in February, and the whole plan was just to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then as the weather got better, that became a bit easier through March. So yeah, it looks like I might knock it out in 6 months.
Yeah, you need to up your goal, I would say. That is incredibly impressive.
After that, it's 1,000 miles, and if I finish that too soon, then I'm going to try and run the year, so 2021.
Wow, that's very cool. Amazing.
Yeah. It's interesting though. Like some days I really love it. Some days I really just hate. Wish I could do something like would love to go to the gym, which I can't do.
Variety is what we're all missing right now, that's for sure.
But it's good to have something that's what I'm doing. And
our pan is starting to smoke, so I think it's probably a little bit too hot at this point. We could turn it down a little bit and maybe make sure the oil is coating it nicely. And then let's just go in with the first one and see how it is.
Full ladle?
Full ladle, I would say.
All right.
Here we go. Nice, that sounds good. Yeah, so I think that's spread out pretty much how we would want it. This will totally depend on your personal batter and how viscous or not it is.
I'm going to get a smaller plate so there's better plates to eat with later.
Nice. But that's looking great. It's still smoking, which is...
So this is like a normal pancake, I imagine, that when the bubbles pop?
Exactly, you're looking for bubbles and dry edges. Do not, under any circumstances, be tempted to flip it. That does not work. It's too dense, it's too wet still on the other side. That would be a disaster. So we're definitely going to be flipping with a slotted, whatever you call that, spatula.
Challenge accepted, Grace.
Oh no. Yeah, so you can see the edges are starting to look good. Yeah, I would say that's ready to flip. Oh, masterfully done. Oh,
no, I fucked it up on the side.
Hey, for a first pancake, this has come out pretty well, I would say. Yeah, so when I did these last, I definitely put in more spinach, and they came out really vibrant green, which was quite fun.
Especially with the curcumo, I can't remember the name. Turmeric. Making the batter such a kind of yellow as well.
Yes, exactly. These are going to be more, dispersed with
You could make these on Australia Day.
Why?
Because green and gold is Australian colours.
There you go. Should have done it for Australia Day instead of Easter.
Well, it would have been tough for you because it's like effectively the same day as Burns Night and you're already making haggis.
True.
So.
And I would say Robert Burns is... I want to celebrate
that's pretty
him
good.
more. That looks beautiful. I mean, the chickpea flour is quite dense, so you do want to make sure that it is cooked through to the middle. But that is definitely the kind of colouring we're looking for. That looks gorgeous. I would say at this point we'll do one more, and then we will basically plate up that as a portion, because I think about 2 pancakes, depending on how hungry you are, especially if we're doing pancakes this size, is a portion. So that people don't have to, watch us do the same thing over and over again. Many pancakes. We'll do 2, we'll stack them, we'll plate it up, we'll show you how beautiful it looks, and then we'll eat them and let you get on your merry way. That's definitely a bigger one. Mm-hmm. It's no bad thing. Just might be harder for you to flip.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I'm sure I'll do a better job than I do the first one.
Pull out a little bit off the side to see. This can be mine. Oh wow, that's good.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
It's got a toastiness.
Mm-hmm.
Real good.
Very nice. So it's chickpea flour that's used in samosas, and you can kind of notice that flavour, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's also a very particular texture. That's looking great. It starts to look like the surface of a planet. Planet pancake.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to be more challenging. Oh, beautiful.
Boom! That's what you get.
That's so good. Ooh, the crispy bits. Ooh, got stuck. That's my partner's come around for dinner. And
timing.
We're going to have to tell him that we have to cook a whole other batch before we can eat.
Surely you could just make him do it. Bark at him for once.
I'll just play in the video. You can just do the entire.
We just go into the other room and drink. This is all you do.
I would definitely leave that for a little bit longer, just to make sure that chickpea flour is nicely cooked through. In the meantime, we could, I like to stir the paneer through the onion tomato mixture, just to coat it with all the flavour, basically. You can just sprinkle it on top. If you've ended up with really, really crispy paneer and you want to keep that crisp, then by all means just sprinkle it on top. My personal preference is stirring it through a little so that it gets flavourful.
I reckon that one's
Yeah.
Right.
It's looking beautiful, yeah. On it goes. And the pan can turn off for us. And we will serve up. Oh, hello! Lindsay is here! There's a few people that are going to be very excited about Lindsay appearing, mainly Paula, I think. Now Paula has to watch this one. So
featuring special guest appearance.
Stirring that through. So that also helps to warm up the paneer again a little bit, I find. Oh yeah, looks so amazing. And then you probably want a big spoon, or yeah, you could use tongs, I suppose. And then you just want to put that on top of the pancakes, basically.
Just 2 pancakes like that?
Yeah, you want to stack. I mean, really at this point it's however hungry you are, however hungry the person you're feeding is. But stack it, spoon it.
That dog.
Beautiful. Oh, it smells good. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm just gonna leave William outside.
Warten, William.
Linz.
We'll be there in a sec.
And then we are gonna squeeze some lime over it.
And coriander?
And sprinkle some coriander over it.
Which one first? I'm going to go coriander first. Let's just have a little bit.
Coriander, go lime.
Cool.
Yeah. The lime is obviously to preference, as is the coriander. Beautiful. And that is dinner. Boom. What do you think? Looking forward to eating it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
None for you. I got barked at for an hour to make these pancakes.
Taylor, thank you so much for being my willing cook. You did an incredible job.
Yeah,
Thanks again to Dojo Eats, to Dom and Joe for bringing us this recipe. Obviously, they will be tagged in the video. Visit their website, try more of their food. It is all delicious. We are going to eat, and we'll see you next week for another dish. Bye, guys.